And Dale, tell us about yourself.
I'm going to do the Cliff Notes version because if I tell you everything about myself, we could go on for at least 5 minutes, maybe 25. But Dale Dupree, leader of the Sales Rebellion, was once the legendary copier warrior, decided that sales sucked and the status quo ruled over too much, created too many mediocre sales people because of it. And so the rebellion exists in order to put people before products, community over commission checks, and experiences over performing a pitch. I'm excited to be here today. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. David Lowe,
Hey, we're
tell us
on.
about yourself.
Well, I'm a business builder, built a 7-figure distribution company. I feel like I'm an online,
Expert.
and I love.
.com. I love it.
I'm really into organic, and I'm a really good at Amy. Okay, guys.
Love it. All right, David K, you gotta beat that.
Okay, well, my handwriting is awesome, and great to meet everyone. Dave Kennett, founder of Replays. We do call reviews for primarily tech companies and help leaders save time, help sales reps with a repeatable 100-step formula, what we call our 100 best practices. But and the one thing I'm going to share, I took up boxing a year ago with a bunch of other dads here in the neighborhood. And now we find a way to cleverly try, or not so cleverly, and weave it in every single conversation. So I'm a boxer, I'm a boxer. That's maybe what you need to know about me.
No big deal.
Yeah.
Amy, I feel like you've done some boxing.
Well, I boxed with my uncle, David. Actually lost at boxing. So funny story is, I used to walk into the house as a kid, my nan's house, and David would just come up out of nowhere, and he would just his foot would just be right here, and he'd just hold it there. And I'm up against a wall, with a foot at my throat. My mom used to get so mad at him. She'd be like, David, stop it. So yeah, I'm not a boxer. I'm just a sales girl.
But at the time you were only 2'3".
Yeah, I still am only 2'3", David. Let's be real. Yeah, so I'm Amy Quick, co-founder of 5 on Friday, territory account manager at Fortinet, selling cybersecurity now. I'm an avid equestrian when I'm not doing this. So Dave, like you, I try to weave that into everything and throw people for a loop. I do cybersecurity, and I'm certified in equine sports massage therapy. That's me.
I love it.
Nice to be here.
Nemi, let us know who you are and what you do.
Sure. Néhémie, recent UVaRO graduate. I'm now an SDR for Voxco survey software. I'm just going to ask some random things about myself as well. Used to be a former professional football player, played Division I football at the University of Wyoming. Go Pokes. And I'm just happy to always be learning. And I love the 5 on Friday crew. And shout out to Amy. She's just been wonderful. So,
love
hey
it.
Guys.
Awesome. All right. Well, before I hand it over to you, Steve, I'll do a quick intro. My name is Francois Boudeau. I work with Encore Business Solutions, and Amy and Patrick and I and Tabitha spin this up every Friday and have lots of fun. Also, big shout out to Replays. They're sponsoring this episode. So thanks to Replays and Dave for coming out. Steven, the floor is yours. Walk us through, I think you were going to talk a little bit about one of the pitches you present. So we're here to give you feedback. So let us know, what you want to show us. Tell us about who you are, obviously, and then the type of feedback that would help you.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to keep this super conversational. So, feel free to jump in at any time. We'll just be chatting through this. Basically, what I'm going to do, I'll start with telling you who I am. Stephen Brady, I'm head of sales at Interseller. We're a 10-person now startup that's basically selling software enablement platform, but to recruiting. So think of outreach plus maybe a Zoom info, but marketed specifically to recruiters.
Okay.
Big, long-suffering Arsenal fan for anyone who cares about that. Yeah, up the gun. And big Japanophile. I've been fortunate enough to go twice. I think it's the best place. If you can only pick one place in the world, go there. It's the closest thing you could do to visiting another planet. And without further ado, I don't have a deck. So I usually like to my deck is usually my Chrome window with a bunch of tabs. So I'm just going to kind of go through that. Francois, whenever you have a
Yeah, you can share now. Sorry, bud.
No worries. Jump in here.
So actually, just to frame this, Steven, do you want to kind of assume we're in a certain role that you'd be talking to, or is it really more high level, like, hey, I'll, you know, you just want feedback, or do you want feedback with us being, you know, I don't know, the head of recruiting for a company or running a recruiting agency?
So that's actually a great place to start. Quick, I usually do this poll in a few minutes. Let's do it now. Show of hands, how many of you get often cold sales emails for a variety of products and services? Are they getting better or worse?
The Bitcoin ones are getting amazing.
they had a very low bar to jump over from a couple of years back. But so what I'm starting with today is we've actually been putting together a pretty specific approach in my team on personalized outbound in a very scalable way. And what we do is we focus first on content on LinkedIn from the people we're targeting. So that's what I'm going to walk through, and I'd love feedback on what you don't like, but mostly kind of how would you, as the recipient, feel about messages like this, and then put your sales sort of like leader, go-to-market hat on, and sort of help pick apart like what you don't like in the whole sequence sort of process, as well as like the strategy behind it. Does that sound good?
Yeah, and just to help remind us, who is typically your ideal buyer?
Yeah, so our ideal buyer, who we're mostly niching into, is executive search or staffing firms, specifically in the, you know, call it 20 to like 50 person range is really the sort of mid upmarket move that we're shifting to. Historically, I've been at the company since employee 1 almost 3 years ago. And so we've gone, you know, from 0 to where we are now, going after the 1-2 seat kind of almost like a B2C type of sale, but it's, you know, B2B.
Awesome. So if I was to put kind of a persona on, you know, I work at one of these agencies and I'd be getting this outreach.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Awesome.
Cool. Yeah. So that was just a little bit about Interseller. This is us, is what we do. You can check us out on G2 Crowd. And this is what I really want to talk about. Okay. So the goal basically, so I'll take a little step back and sort of give you the context of where this came from. It was, I guess it must have been in April or late March. How many of you know Beck Holland? Follow any of her flip the script stuff? All right. And Sarah Hicks, who's an SDR, I think, at Predictable Revenue, co-did a webinar on how to build a personalization at scale playbook, right? And I was floored, and immediately, and we had pretty good performance at the time because we're an emailing tool, so we try to be pretty good at email. But this just really resonated so much. I watched this on a Wednesday. Then Friday in our team meeting, I said, hey, here's my notes. I want to start running a play like this next week. And then what I'll walk you through here is basically how this standard operating procedure got created and the results from the very first campaign we ran. And then this other tab, I can kind of show you guys how we go about it together so you can sort of see it in action.
Awesome.
So the premise, and you know, again, this is public. I make this SOP available if anyone wants it. All hat goes to Beck and Sarah. Here's the webinar recording and the deck for anyone who wants to see the source material. And then this is just how we implemented it. But the core premise, right, is people love to talk about themselves. And LinkedIn is a great place to find people talking about themselves or talking with people talking about themselves. Now, if you're going to cold email, the best way to get someone curious, which is really the sort of core end goal that you should be, that's what we're arguing, you should be going after, is to show that you are interested in them, talk about them, anything related to them, whether it's something you can tease out from the business, themselves personally, and earn the right to actually have the business relationship once you've gotten them curious in you. So the hypothesis basically was, if we focus less on generic email copy sent to larger numbers of targets and more on a personalized, attention-grabbing content referencing the prospect's own words, we should see something like a 3 to 5x lift in our reply rates. That was sort of the basic KPI I was tracking for here. Though I did figure, well, let's just throw in some hard numbers around my 3 most important points So I wanted to see open rates above 70%. I know the subject line is hitting. I know that the email addresses I'm using are good. Reply rates, I wanted 30% or greater. And then booked meeting. So we actually, within Interseller, and I think some other tools, Outreach probably has something similar, or maybe SalesLoft. We have just a little data point called booked. And all it does is scrape your linked calendar, Google, Outlook, whatever. And if the email address that you reach out to ends up on the calendar, it marks it as booked. So this is basically our North Star conversion number that we really want to see the most lift in. Questions so far? Everyone with me? All right, cool. So the tactic, right, is basically what we thought of was, let's go follow the top thought leaders first. So Christina on my team, she comes from a recruiting background and actually has a really good LinkedIn network. So we started with her first, and we just started looking for different hashtags like recruiter, recruitment, hiring. So we figured, let's go to the watering hole first, and let's either pull that that content with that author, if that's in our ICP, or the hypothesis was the people commenting and liking the content would be in our ICP. So we're going to get something either way. And then we just put some basic frameworks around how many comments it should be, you know, how many likes, things like that. And then this is sort of like Beck's basic premise type of structure. The whole idea is like you have the premise is surfacing the fact that you saw their LinkedIn activity, and then you reference something specific like a quote or the comment, if it's a commenter, then some sort of like question. And this can be, I think this is where the real sort of secret sauce is and where a lot of the creativity can come in. What we usually try to do is just, you know, either add a question on top of the comment, because what we want, again, is the curiosity. So we want to ask like a question for us that can somehow illustrate our authority in the space, candidate marketing, cold email writing. Those are sort of the two we focus on. And then just get them to be interested enough to respond. And usually the CTA is like, you know, if this is interesting, I'd love to unpack this, or, you know, sometimes we'll just not have an actual call to action. It's just implicit by asking them a question. The idea is they're going to respond, right? Or not. You don't have to give them the salesy, definitive, give me some time, blah, blah, blah. So this is what it looked like when Christina actually wrote something. Tag, you know, first name, I disagree with Ingrid's post. We'll get to Ingrid's post in a second. Happy day of the week. Hope it finds you well. I noticed you. So she's going after commenters here because Ingrid is a recruiter within Amazon. So not really within our ICP, but definitely writing relevant content. And she was sort of bashing external recruiters in a way. Your comment, you can do different tags. If you want to do quote as a tag, there's lots of ways that you can either write this out and it just fills in, or you just personalize it before it gets sent out. I know a lot of companies are still leveraging agencies, so this is where we're sort of like tying into us and what we do, what we want to talk about. She goes very direct and asks for 15 to 30 minutes. Do you have time this week?
Hey, Stephen, can I ask a quick question just to kind of put it in context? This right here, I mean, this is an SOP that's available to the public, but what is the correlation between this and what Interstellar's actually selling? So are you selling like the software platform behind this that would auto-populate and merge these fields and like the actual emailing tool? And is there anything on like that you do that actually helps with scraping this information? You know what I mean? Like actually pulling information from LinkedIn, or is this just literally like, I have to go, you know, research this post and kind of see what Bob and James and Anita and all these people are up to, and then go kind of put together a personalized outreach from, you know, from there. So it's kind of like one-offs, you know, is that the pretense behind it? Like, I mean, it's going to be very hyper personalized.
Yeah, you're nailing all of the things. What I haven't explained so far is the data piece. And yes,
Okay.
so that's sort of, once you have identified a contact, there's a Chrome extension, and all we're really doing on the B2B side is taking the full name, right? And then the domain for the company listed in their experience. And then we go to their email server, and that's where we do like the real-time email verification. So you'll get that. If I jump down here, you'll actually see, so we found Mike was the person she was interested in. Then she comes in and clicks Interseller on his profile. And then what you see here is the screenshot from
Okay.
the actual email that she put together.
And you can have pre-formed templates and stuff like that ready to rock and roll, and I'm assuming.
Yeah, I was, go ahead.
Can you set up sequences too, or is this just like one-off emails?
Yep. Sequences.
So, from my perspective, just to kind of jump in,
Yeah.
The value, I see what you're doing. Like you're bringing them in with the value, right? Like, hey, we got this information from Beck Holland. This is how you can set up a really hyper-personalized LinkedIn sequence and whatever. But honestly, I don't even think you need that. I mean, I think you need like 30 seconds of talking about like how that was, engaging for you guys, and you learned so much from it. And then boom, get right into talking about how you can use hyper-personalization and Interseller combined to solve, the problems that your customers are going to be having. Like, what is the problem that you're solving with this process in your feature set? So talk to me a little bit about that, because I'm really curious to see, I mean, this looks cool, but I'm curious to see like what problems you're solving and how you articulate that.
Yeah, for sure. So let's do it this way. So I'll click on a live sequence, right, that we're running right now. So this is, Christina kind of runs our sort of like, let's call it mid-market BD motion right now. We're a team of 3. I have 2 AEs, and I've got Christina doing sort of like the top of funnel or supplemental top of funnel for them. So if I go into steps, right, so here's the sequence of 1, 2, 3, 4 emails. We actually have, where's my other, okay. And this is the total touch plan that she's going through. So like touch 1 is the automated personalized intro email through Interseller. Day 3 is connect with a note, follow their profile, etc. So we're actually doing more like 8 to 10 touches over about, call it 2-3 weeks, depending on exactly how she twists it out. So that's there. And then the email actually looks like tag about post, your comment, LinkedIn comment. So you can fill all this in. If I wanted to add Francois to this one, for example, let's say, sorry?
Add me.
Yeah, okay.
Look at that handsome mug right there.
So this is,
I'm so excited. There's 2 tabs with my name on it.
I had a little prep before this just to make sure. And so you're sort of an ideal person. I think this is where some people object or have a hard time as well. My ICP are CFOs in heavy industry or something, and they're not on LinkedIn or they don't post. Like, yes, well, that can be very difficult, obviously, because the real like nuggets are self-authored content. There's lots of other ways you can do it. Maybe they're commenting, maybe they're not commenting, but somebody within their company is, on webinars or podcasts. The point is to bring something, right, that they should be at least like tertiary involved in, and showing that you've already like looked into it. But I don't want to get too off topic there. So let's focus on Francois, since you actually write stuff and it's good. So I liked this one, and it was immediate here. So does a successful salesperson need to be a good project manager? I think so. Orchestration, right people at each step. Why? Okay. So immediately what called out to me of what I would pitch here, or how I would use this to surface Interseller as a potential tool, would be project management is a lot like frontline manager overseeing their AEs or SDRs and their process for top of funnel, etc. If you don't have good tooling to understand every single step of that process, you're kind of flying blind with knowing how many, are you doing enough top of funnel contacts added? Are you sending enough emails? Are you getting enough open rates? Maybe we have a bad list. There's all sorts of things. So what I would do is then go back over to you, okay? And then I click, let me just make sure I have the right setting. Work only. So this should try to pull for Encore. So I'll click Interseller, and now it'll open up a little tab on the left. And this is where it's doing the name search. Is that your email?
Yep.
Okay. And this is pretty cool too. So I can see already that there's a duplicate found in Salesforce. So it looks like Christina actually added you and maybe messaged you a month ago in Christina SOP LinkedIn personalized outreach. So this is actually pretty fun. I'm just going to go open that from here and see what she did. So this was the campaign she ran, right? So 90% open, 30% reply, 7% booked. And again, booked is like demo set basically. Let me just
So is this kind of, I mean, what I'm looking at is it's kind of like the outreach for LinkedIn. You know, it allows you to do this right from LinkedIn as opposed to having a separate software platform that's running and, you know, I mean, because this obviously integrates with Salesforce and whatnot as well.
Yeah.
I mean, is that kind of where you would fit? Is that you're very specific? I mean, is it just LinkedIn or are there other platforms that you can sequence with as well?
Yeah, good question. So the core is, but where LinkedIn comes into play here is we all know that it's it is the best platform for discovery, at least in a prospecting sense. It's, you know, questionable on the ROI as a messaging platform. It depends on your vertical and lots of other things. So what we did is how can we marry the fact that people are already spending a ton of time on LinkedIn doing some sort of research and then just get the information out that you need, namely contact info, push that contact into your CRM, but be email first as the messaging medium. It also works on, if you're using like AngelList or Indeed Resume, we can kind of pull contact info out from there. And then the pro version of Crunchbase where it gives you the full profile info. But so LinkedIn is like 95% of the place where people spend the time here.
So Stephen, if you're talking to somebody that's an ideal customer, where do you typically see an objection, i.e. we have outreach, we have SalesLoft, we have, like who's competitor number 1 and 2?
Yeah, that's a great question. Honestly, the number 1 competitor is actually InMail.
That's a competitor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about it, I don't know, I can't remember the last time I looked at it, but if you go to like Microsoft's earnings and you look at like their, you know, SaaS as it rolls up in LinkedIn, you know, it's several hundreds of millions of dollars, right? So InMail is a very, how many of you have purchased a premium product from LinkedIn, like Sales Navigator or something, right? Have any of you paid for the recruiting products they offer? Okay. So the top tier is something called like LinkedIn Recruiter, and they have a corporate version and they have a agency version. In both cases, the real, like, this is like a $1,000 a month per user subscription. I have one client who will do about 3.5 million this year as an agency in revenue, and he cuts a $250,000 check to LinkedIn every year. And he'll do that all day because that's probably the biggest, you know, enablement spend that he's 10xing, and all recruiting is a time and materials business. So you have to invest in those things. So for us, what we can do is sort of, we can do 2 things. We can either take that spend and then we can amplify it, because now all the activity that they're doing there, they can also easily add email as a channel with automated follow-up and then pull all of that activity into their CRM. So it's not siloed within like the LinkedIn atmosphere. So that's sort of like top line potential, because we can get more done in less time and usually better performance than the InMails. And then on the bottom line, what we can also do, and we've been doing this more over the last year, is helping our clients reduce spend because if they don't really need 10,000 in-mails, for example, which is sort of what they're paying the bulk of that 1K MRR subscription for, we can help them go down to a $200 Recruiter Lite, where they still have all the advanced filtering and Boolean and list saving, et cetera, but then they're not using it as a messaging channel primarily. So even if we don't provide any lift, we've still cut their spend dramatically.
Yeah, so just so I'm on the same page is what Amy was asking, like when you guys go up against InMail, you're saying, you're going to go to the lower tier and not use InMail. You're going to use email, and then we're going to connect with the person and then be able to message them directly. That's part of your sequence.
Totally. Yep, exactly.
Interesting. I don't know about anybody else, but I kind of laughed when you said InMail, because I was like, my LinkedIn messaging is like a disaster, trying to keep track of them, and it's a dumpster fire.
Well, especially for you, Francois, right? Because you have, almost 12,000 people that are immediately in your sort of like sphere. And I don't know how many of these are connections versus just straight up followers, but that's a lot of DM potential, right? So it's going to be impossible to actually weed through that. That's just on the direct messaging. On the cold outreach through InMail, everyone's seen it. You can see the sort of auto, hey, this is a pay to play message, right? So that's a filter that you can already apply with your AI up here. And then in email, so the other problem with LinkedIn, they've shot themselves in the foot in a sense where it's like they send so many InMails, and every InMail comes with an automatic email, that they send millions of emails every day, so that Google and Microsoft have already figured out all the spam triggers with every InMail associated email. So I could, without having you check right now, but when you go back to your email, especially your personal, whatever email is tied to your LinkedIn, go check that inbox and see how many emails are in your promotions or social folder.
That's interesting.
So yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask, so if you can help them understand, or if you can get them on the phone and get their attention around, lowering their InMail spend, what's maybe like the next level objection?
Yeah, the next level objection is the change management. So, I just don't believe you. I've been using InMails because it's so scary, right? If it's a pretty simplistic business, like it's not a super complicated, business model, it's all about execution. And if you've had a strategy that's working and it already has like good ROI, it's hard to believe. And I just did a webinar yesterday with going through the same sort of framework with a big sort of franchisor of recruiting agencies. And we had about 70 different offices on the call. And I polled them too, like, how many of you use email? A lot said yes. Only 3 people were willing to respond with what their reply rates were. And one guy said he's like 3 to 5% has been my best. So they're also,
Jesus.
Yeah, I know. And that's just bad for everyone, right? Because especially right now where there's so much talent that needs to find a greatly diminished pool of opportunities, or maybe they're in different places than they were previously looking 6 months ago. But like nothing has changed on the recruiting end. They're not doing anything different, and it should be a lot easier. But when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So that's
Stephen,
kind of going after it.
Go ahead,
sorry to jump in or cut you off, but can we have fun with a role play for a second?
Yeah.
100%. Let's do it.
I'd love to hear how you handle that objection. So sounds like one of the main ones for you is that you hear is people are like, they're skeptical. They're like, hey, I don't think you can improve on what I've got today. So why don't we jump in? I'll just say that. I'll be like, so I'm your prospect. I'm like, you know what, Stephen, I hear you. I've seen the demo. Honestly, it sounds cool. I'm just skeptical. I'm not sure that you can really beat what I've got going on with email right now.
Hey, I totally understand. It's one of the things I hear the most often. And I think you laughed before when you asked me to name your biggest competitor, and we started this whole conversation with InMail, right? But look, the only way I can really sort of make this case is to kind of show you our own usage of email. I think that's sort of the best place. Like we do this every day. The only thing we use for our funnel is Interseller. So if I just sort of like jump over here for you. Let me just show you maybe like the last 30 days or last random 30 days. And I'll make this a little bit bigger so that we all can see. Right, so, you know, remind me again, do you remember what your connection rate was on your InMails?
Yeah, my connection rate on InMails is, what's typical?
People think it's all kinds of crazy shit,
All right.
but yeah, let's say 20%. Let's say
Yeah,
20%.
20. My connection rate's 20%.
Okay, great. And do you know roughly like how many calls that you'll schedule from there? You know, they'll accept it, but do you know what the sort of end conversion number looks like?
Yeah, it's roughly 5 to 10%.
Okay, great. All right. So that's actually quite good. Now, do you have any real process for following up with folks after you've sent the first InMail?
Yeah, I mean, typically we, because we've got a bunch of data enrichment tools, so we've got their email and we'll put them on a cadence, and then we'll also call every third day for a couple weeks.
Okay, cool. So you've got one InMail and then a lot of phone touches or other mediums, and then maybe if you have their email, you'll send them a manual email every once in a while, somewhere in that process.
That's right, yeah.
Okay. So we do something similar, but we don't usually call. Maybe we'll do email, LinkedIn, email, something like that. But just taking the last month, one of the things I like to just start with is just the data quality of it. So we usually have an average of around 5% across all users on bounces. So you can see from us, we only had 3.8% bounce. So very much in line with what we're looking for. And then overall, we were able to send 4,800 messages to about 2,500 people. And we booked 80 meetings as a result of this. This is all cold outreach through email. And, you know, we haven't gotten to it yet, but in most cases, and it might take you, you know, a little bit of time at first, maybe a sequence or two, but, you know, once you dial your copy in, which is something we can help you with for sure, this is really like a 15-minute process to set this up and then sort of let it run in the background.
Yeah, you know, I hear you, but you guys presumably are the best in the market at using your tool. So these are actually great rates for sure, but I mean, what's common amongst your customers?
Totally. And I don't have it prepped right now, but this is one thing I'll usually do is I'll have at least one or two of my best performers sort of just up on the screen. And I just go, hey, look, like here's, and people, the fun part about this demo is you literally see the slack jaw of people reaching out to, I'll blur out any of the PII and stuff, but it'll be, you know, software engineering outreach. And they get, you know, like no joke, 25% of the engineering candidates to take a call with them.
Yeah, that's huge. So, so end of role play. Good job. Want my feedback real quick?
Yeah, please.
So number one, great job acknowledging, right? Right off the bat, when I was skeptical, you didn't make me feel stupid for being skeptical. You're like, hey, I get it. You know, you even kind of laughed when you heard that InMail was the number one competitor. So very good. It disarms me right off the bat. And you know, I like that you gave me an example here and kind of tucked me in. What I would suggest, like what we see when we're coaching reps, and because we're reviewing tons of demos all the time, is to the extent that you can use social proof of other brands aside from yourself, it's so powerful. And you said you usually have a couple tabs ready to go, right? I know I put you on the spot there, so that's great. But I would always be, you know, number one, I would try and find someone ideally in the industry of your prospect. Well, everyone's in the industry because you're in the recruiting space, but maybe if there's a vertical they're handling and you've got an example of that, that'd be ideal. But just being extremely confident about, hey, I hear you. Time and again, the reason that our customers are happy is because we are able to beat them out. But let me give you a few examples. And then if you could just genericize somehow their data, or maybe you've got some case studies, but those customer stories, going straight to customer stories is social proof and proof point. I think it'd be very, very powerful. But I'd love to hear what the rest of the group has to say. But any thoughts on that first, Stephen, before other folks jump in?
I'm so glad that you said that because I forgot who it was. Someone posted a really interesting piece on LinkedIn a week or two ago, and it was talking about this bifurcation between basically like economic buyers over the age of 40 and under 40 and their preference for educational resources. And over 40 was white papers and case studies, and under 40 was reviews and influencer recommendations. And you know, one of the things we've invested a ton of effort and time into in the last year has been making sure that we get like leadership in this emerging candidate marketing, recruiting, automation space where there's really not a lot of players, so we can jump in and get a lot of this review market share. And then because we have so many smaller clients right now, we have a huge, we have like 500 accounts that we can pull these reviews from. And we highlight the fact that the things that we do particularly well are all around ease of use. This is a change management thing for most people. Support, people don't, you know, they stress out about things they've never used before. And then ease of setup. So do you like G2 Crowd? And do you think that just sort of picking some of the best sort of reviews that we like, or doing a comparison between maybe like us and 2 other things would be more helpful?
I think it's a great tool in the toolbox to use for sure. Like I would use that in combination with customer stories. And you know, I like to almost stay away from white papers, more just a 30 to 60 second snapshot on here's what a customer who felt like you when they, you know, first talked to us, here's how they felt 6 months later, here was the results. A couple of those, super powerful.
Oh, if I jump in?
Yeah, please, Dale.
Stephen, can you throw out the definition around curiosity that you talked about in the initial email that sets up the appointment?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So for me, I will often just use the word curious as one of the, like the sort of setup in, let's go to the template itself, but like, I actually have one I just sent yesterday. Let me show you. Where did oops, preview. So yeah, I'll just usually say, in this context, right? I went to their Google reviews, and luckily within a week, somebody they had placed was actually leaving a review about this recruiter. So then one of the things that it said was that, as Roberto said, as soon as I mentioned I was open to new opportunities, I got contacted by Kip. So that's usually a feature within LinkedIn Recruiter. So I'm showing him through a quick question. It sounds like you're a power user, especially the active in job search flag, question mark. I'm curious, do you also have success cold emailing passive or active candidates? So what I want is, I want the curiosity to come from a couple things. A, like, how do you know I work with Roberto Garza? That's my candidate. That's a crazy thing for someone I don't know to reach out to me about. You have a direct quote from this guy, and oh, okay, now I understand. You actually went to our Google business page and read the reviews, and a candidate happened to be in there. That's crazy. Nobody ever sends that to me in a cold email. And you've already made some pretty, I'm assuming here, I'm assuming he thinks I'm making positive assumptions about what he does in his day-to-day, and giving him an opportunity to answer me about that. And then the ask here was, hey, we're both really into recruiting. I'd love to mostly learn about you, the company, and your focus, which I know is high growth tech. Maybe even sneak in a little bit about myself and how Interseller works with hundreds of agencies.
Cute. I'll tell you, bro, the hyper personalization and the differentiation factor is sick. Like, this is a very authentic way to put this type of email structure together. I know by Colin too, right? Like, I think that the power in what she teaches, though, is like what the individual does with it more so than anything else. Because I'll tell you, dude, I've gotten more emails than I can count that say about your LinkedIn post ever since her webinar. Yeah. And it's frustrating, dude, straight up. So showing me this was awesome, because I was going to talk shit to you about, you know, the LinkedIn post thing, and tell you to basically think about how you can accommodate somebody's neurological stance when you reach out to them in regards to a LinkedIn post in the first place. Because just saying something generic like about your LinkedIn post still doesn't feel very personalized. This is good. The hyper personalization here is disturbingly good. Like, Josh Braun would kiss you right on the mouth if he saw this. But where I want you to really focus, and let's talk a little bit more about it too, like moving forward into your sequence, is that like the curiosity that you're instilling here, this is more of a transference of curiosity. But I'm not sure that you're fully doing that, because you're saying, I'm curious, to try and kind of make them curious about why you're asking. But I believe what will happen here, and the way that you're asking this, is that they might feel that way in the beginning, but then when they look down to the next paragraph, they'll think, okay, well, you're setting me up to sell me something. So like, no matter what, in the way that you're weaving this, toward the bottom here, you start to kind of come out of your zone of making someone feel like this is all about them. And you've started to kind of pivot toward, how do I sell something to them? Which you're actually naturally doing in the first 2 paragraphs. You're naturally causing me to be like, this is pretty sick. What do you want? You know, like, and I think that that's what you want people to ask, more so than telling them that that's what they desire. So curiosity in psychological terms. So if I'm a neuropsychometrist, or I'm a psychiatric therapist, or I'm doing anything in the psychology world, psychology is actually, it's a pleasant motivational state. Okay. And so the idea is that when you're trying to sell to somebody, in most cases, it starts to bleed through at some point. We all have to admit that in our walk, you know, no matter what we sell or how we sell it, at some point we've all been guilty of it. And we probably do it more often than we'd like to admit on top of that. Does it work? Absolutely. It absolutely works, especially with the particular personalities that you're talking to. But there's a real natural way to kind of nuance what you did in that first part of that email into the second and third paragraphs, to make it very easy for someone to basically just click on your Calendly link and set a date with you without ever even responding back in the first place. But the big picture here, and the reason why I ask, and the reason why I take you here, is that if you're instilling curiosity, true forms of curiosity, in the first half of your outreach, which, remember, curiosity, it differs from other positive emotions because it creates a strong desire to explore, right?
Yeah.
That's what's really happening. Like, you activate something that's actually, it's a stimulant more than anything. So it's not necessarily this positive emotion like happiness or joy. It's like this hybrid emotion. All right. And so the idea being that you're now in this place, if you're really truly running with curiosity, that you can nuance it. So when you were role playing with Dave, that objection, you should never get it. And I'll tell you why. Because proactively, you should tell somebody when they first get onto the call, I know what you're about to say. This, and this. And so I'm going to go through these things with you so as not to waste your time and not to have to burden you with the objection to begin with. And then go through those things and say, and after I'm done, I invite you to ask questions around everything that I show you, and even during it, right? So that we can collaborate inside of this. Because what I want for you is for you to get the same rates that these people are getting, or I'll step out of your life altogether and I'll turn you on to Lead IQ or somebody else, right? To get this done, right? That's the mindset, right? And that's what, now your curiosity level you've balled it up into like, you're like Super Saiyan or whatever from Dragon Ball Z and everybody always talks about. And I'm like, man, I didn't do anime. I did Jurassic Park. But anyway, the idea of it just being this, like, I have created something so epic in this moment that the buyer sits there and they're just like, who are you? Right. But remember, when you're selling to somebody, especially somebody in the C-suite or that has some type of decision-making power around their own company, right? What their company's doing. Like, I know that there's kind of I don't have a full comprehension around your exact target audience. And I say that just because, like, I feel like you could sell this to more people than you're actually saying you could sell it to. But anyway, the idea is that if you're speaking to somebody on this higher tier and they're watching you and they're listening to you and you're doing something to them that's never been done before, your product is sick, bro. I like it. I think that there's nothing wrong with anything inside of the process of what your product is doing, or your mindset behind how it is that you're helping people with these sequences, how you're tying this into LinkedIn. It's sick, dude. But everybody already knows that. So now you have to get to this place of helping them get past their ultimate objection, which is that I don't want to buy anything. I don't want to buy anything. I don't want to buy anything. Even if it makes me better, I don't want to buy it. I don't give a shit. I'm too busy. I'm spending too much on other things. I just don't want it. And so now the idea here to wrap it up and to sum it up, and then any questions that you have, but I'd love to banter more with you offline about curiosity, is this concept of that. What if during your presentation, from outreach to presentation, that the entire time what you're doing to someone is making them want to hire you, right? And not just buy your product. So now you have elevated yourself to this moment of this person that's on the other end, the receiving end, going, holy shit, I don't have anybody around me that's this good. I don't have peers. I don't have mentors. I don't have employees. This person is doing something to me that's never been done before, right? This is insane what's happening to me. Like, the idea is that then they are going to buy from me because they'll know that that's their only option. Because at some point, you might even hear, so you ever thought about leaving your job? You ever thought about leaving your, so you'll build those things up, right? But if you choose that path through the curiosity approach, and you're creating systemic curiosity in the way that you reach out to people, because what's happening is you're tapping into nostalgia, you're tapping into this emotional state that's beyond this concept of what they're used to feeling through happiness or positive emotions, right? Because you've stirred them into this very complex place. So now they're like, what, should I quit my job and go work for this guy? I mean, like, you want to cause, in the way that you're doing this, because this is sick. Again, like, everything you're doing is nasty. I think anybody on this panel would agree with me that the product itself and the outreach is awesome. And so now you just need to elevate Steven's game around proactive approaches and really honing in on the curiosity concept inside of the demo phase and how it's nuanced throughout the process.
It's really interesting that you brought up the, like, I want to hire you, sort of like outcome there, because that's happened organically a few times. And obviously, that when you get to that place, you're like, okay, great, right? Because it goes to that, people really buy from people, and people want to buy things. They want to be with winners. They want to be with people they feel like level them up. And so they'll buy basically whatever it is that's helping them to do that. That really just helped me sort of have this aha of, I need to go back through chorus and try to tease out, as much replicability of, like, what happened in that conversation that led to that, and then really build a sort of, the demo process, et cetera, around, similar outcomes there. Because yes, that's exactly, and that's what our best customers say about us is, you don't just get a software product, like, you're getting these guys who are great to work with. They answer your call and they help you use it. Like, they help you do this stuff better. One last thing too, with the curiosity bit, is you also got me thinking with curiosity, it's really a state that innately is conducive to action. When you're curious about something, oh, what's that? Like, there's like that, you said that, like, magnetism, that draw to action is built into it, right? So if I'm doing that organically, like, this doesn't have to be in there. What I should just do is make it how would you sort of easily loop in? I think I have my Calendly and my signature HTML somewhere, but, like, just sort of, the idea is, if they want to reach out to me, they'll figure it out in here how to do it. I don't need to ask for it.
Yeah, like, I have a student right now that he writes in his final paragraphs of his emails, he just puts, if this is weird, don't click it. But if it's not, I look forward to meeting with you. Like, that's literally what he puts. But again, he drives it to that, and he doesn't even have to ask. And so here's the other thing, is that this is not a study that anybody wants to do, but we've done it internally. Buyers hate it when you ask them for 15 or 30 minutes of their time. Yeah. And I'll tell you why, because they enjoy the idea of, like, riffing, and this concept of having their time is super valuable. And if you say, oh, I only need 15 minutes, you dilute it. And you make it kind of feel like you just need 15 minutes to show me your stuff. Like, I need hours to tell you about my business, right? Like, that's the idea, right? So think about just changing the entire concept of the way you ask at the end. But remember this too, bro. Like, one of your email sequences that you showed, we haven't come back to it, but it was like, hi, I hope you're well. I hope this email finds you well. Like, I always ask people, like, when you're writing these, and in any paragraph this applies to, would you say that to me in real life if I met with you in person? Yeah. Would you say best and then Steven at the end of an email, or would you say, hey, talk to you soon?
Yeah.
Like,
Has
that's
to
the
more
idea.
conversational, the better. And like to touch on Dale's point too, collaborative chat. I use that a lot. Like, hey, let's just have a collaborative chat, or something like that. I keep it really vague. Like, I don't put a time limit on it. I don't try to like push them in with that. Like, let's schedule a time to talk. I just say, I'm open for a collaborative chat. To talk about what objectives are most important to you right now in X space or whatever. So I like that.
Collaborative chat. That's a really great phrase.
It is. It works really well because that's what it is. It's not, and saying discovery is like just beaten death, but it's the same thing. It's just more of a collaborative conversation. But I'd love to hear what Néhémie has to say too, because you're just starting out kind of in the sales world, as doing a lot of this stuff. Are you like, how did you feel this was, and like, what would you change?
Oof, I mean, it's hard to go after Dale, first of all. That was fantastic.
No pressure.
Fantastic feedback. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I thought it was fantastic. Honestly, I'm gonna have to go look up Interseller myself because I do like a lot of those templates. I'm gonna have to try to borrow some of that. Dude, I thought it was a great job. I guess I'm the new guy, so I'm really just picking up things from what you were doing. Even the concept of not even messaging on LinkedIn, because I've been doing that and I've been seeing great results. And the concept of taking LinkedIn info but using that in the email and improving the open rates, and your open rates metrics are quite high, and I'm like, wow, okay, I got to really step up. I thought it was really just fantastic. The concept of compassion and understanding is really what disarms, and kind of when you're using it's a template, but it's so personalized, and that really it was. I thought it was quite impressive. And yeah, I actually really quite agree with what Dale was saying as far as at the end of the day, the biggest objection is people just don't even want to buy, even if it's gonna make them better. People are just, it's another thing to do. So I mean, I'm definitely taking that away, and I'll definitely have to, consider that. As far as my experience, it's just been pumping out numbers, and I'm really trying to, hone in on what actually directs people to actually booking a demo. I think the personalization at a big scale is what's really kind of like, okay, that's I'm gonna have to look up Interseller. And is there any way I get access? I know you said that the SOP is available, but can I get access to some of those templates? That's available, right? Can you put the link in the chat?
Yeah, I'll do it right now.
Look it up.
Yeah, because that'll make the rest of my day already better. So
See, that's why Néhémie's good at sales, because he's just like, I'm just gonna straight up like take this.
I mean, look, I'm the new guy. And I'm not gonna act like I'm a great vet. So you guys are obviously, dude. I mean, it was incredible. The product is incredible. The presentation was incredible. I really like the idea as well as testing email for conversational tone that Dale was talking about. Because I don't really say best regards ever, but my emails always say best regards, and I'm like, you know what? I might have to skip best regards. Just have a good day, have a good weekend, or whatever. So. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So all of that makes so much sense, and so I really appreciate you sharing that. So
David Lowe, I'd let you've got so much experience, but also I'd like to you know the world of martial arts, but like what martial art are you taking in your personalization? Are you bringing like the judo style?
Yeah, a bit of BJJ in there. I think, what Dale was talking about really kind of, there's a lot in there that he said for me really, because the customer journey and the customer themselves, and we're all customers as well as salespeople, has changed. The personalization and getting to know the customer before anything else is the key, because, who are you? What is it, and why would I buy from you? Is the key to answer, and you should always approach it from an emotional point, then logic, and then you go into the sales. I mean, I always learned that from one of my mentors was let them know you've got a product anyway. I mean, that they probably know anyway, but you got to. It's like, I suppose Gary V says, you all know that, so it's like hook, right cross, whatever it is. It's kind of like that. And I live by the term results in advance. So you always help. But by the way, somewhere down the line, I've got a product, but I'm going to help you for free for the time being. But I've got a really cool bribe at the end of all this, and I'm sure you'll love it. It's using that type of terminology as well, and I love all that stuff. One of the key, I wrote loads of notes down here, but I'm not going to go on like Dale, otherwise we'll be here all night and my wine will go warm. Okay, but the thing is, and it was great what you did, Stephen, really cool, and I like it. And I'm not so familiar with LinkedIn, as a lot of you know. I come from the Facebook world. That's why this stuff is quite interesting to me, because I know about the chatbots and the, SMS and using messaging and things like that. And you mentioned about telephone follow-ups and email, but what other systems are there in there that your system can use? I had a quick look at Interseller before I got on, so that was one of them. But the other thing was the sales copy point of view in your system. When you give somebody a system and you say, right, look at the way we could write this and how you can approach someone, do you have some like templates within your program that helps people write the right message, because they could screw it up on the get-go because they don't understand about that type of messaging? That's just the thing that came to me.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. We just recently started putting in, like, we have in the templates section, there's a public template, where what we've done is we've taken some like structures that we've blogged about, or just, had like content we drive people to, but now surfacing it, the thing that we're trying to monitor, and we can get away with this while we're still pretty small, but I was talking with someone the other day who was telling me, did you know that outreach alone emails IBM almost 1 million times a month?
That's ridiculous.
Right? So that's what we're trying to avoid eventually is, and we've seen this happen with other types of software that's solving the same problem, especially on the data side, where they force everyone into a platform where it's like a marketplace, and they're like, oh, we have everyone and you can connect instantly, blah, blah, blah. Well, what happens if you have 10 tech-focused agencies in San Francisco looking for the best talent? Now all of a sudden you've crowded them all out. They're all hitting the same 100 people that you have on there. So we're trying to, yes, use this, but we'll make it incomplete enough that you have to do something so that we don't run into this problem. But right now we're doing it in an unscalable way of the onboarding with our larger teams. It's part of the first 5 hours that they get in that month.
Maybe a cool thing then would be a bonus. You can give away a free sort of like PDF template that has got your best email type of templates in it. And that would be a data capture point straight away, because I'd download that straight away and you'd have my email address. So, and I'm into that.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
true.
a lead magnet at the end of the day. So maybe a cool lead magnet like that, that'd be a pretty cool giveaway. On your front page, say, hey guys, check this out. Obviously don't give it all away. We've got 21 templates that you cannot live without. Here's 6 of them, because otherwise your competition's going to get it all. Stuff like that.
We've been floating. I've been taking that SOP that I just shared here and walked through and using that within, we'll do like connection requests and cold, we'll do a sequence once they connect. And that's one of the things that we offer in there. And there's a lot of interest in it, but we haven't put any any marketing collateral lead capture. So
that's me. That's what I'm into that.
Yeah, he's trying to coach me up on that. David is, but I think Stephen, overall, that phenomenal job. For what it is and the platform that it is, it's definitely a necessity, because my inbox, I can tell you right now on LinkedIn, is just, it's like a jungle. It's like a wasteland of blah, blah, blah. And 99% of it is like this generic garbage and then a sales pitch, and you can tell they're sequenced, messages, generic garbage. We know some of the same people, great, who, I don't know, and I hope you're not dead, and then the next one is just pitch, and it's just horribly written content. So leveraging the email, I get an email at work, and if it gets through my spam filter and I see it's from a sales rep, I actually take the time to read it, just because for me, it's like a curiosity thing. Like, what is this? But the ones that really stand out are the ones that are just goofy as hell or very personalized. So this one guy took the time to, he probably took way too much time personalizing this email. It was almost like on the creepy side, but I had to give him props that he he took the time to appeal to something, you know, that was like Dale said, and Dave too, like talked about how you have to drive that curiosity factor and almost like the overcoming objections up front. Like, I'm fully transparent right up front with people. You know, my intention is to have a conversation about how I can best help you. But at the end of the day, if I can sell you a product, I will, because that's what we do. If not, that's okay. We part friends and it's no sweat off my back. So I think the more you guys have that vibe with what you're doing, the more successful you're going to be, because emails are still a factor. And I think that you driving that point home and even touching on the fact that LinkedIn inbox messengers, you know, God, it's so overrun. Like, I want to hire someone to respond to all my messages at this point. Like, does anyone out there need a job?
No, not really. But I think, Amy, you just touched on something there as well, Stephen, which I learned originally from my mentor back in the 2000s. That was Frank Kern. Somebody may have heard of him on the online marketing space. You know, he's a digital marketer, and he's into Facebook ads now. He's in California, but he was the attractive character at the time I found him, because he was so different from the others, because he was like this long-haired surf dude. Okay, and I connected with him because it was what we were talking about, and Dale touched on as well, was the message was more how you chat to your friends, in a sense, you know, and he was always open like that. And I think if you can differentiate yourself, if you've got competitors from them through that, then you're onto a winner, because then you're kind of like throwing rocks at the opposition because you're different, you know, in a sense. So I think the message, you know, the way you write stuff is crucial, but you come across as this, they know, oh yeah, this is Interseller. Those guys are goofy as hell, you know, they're great, you know, because there should be, I do a live every twice a week with a business coach partner of mine, and we muck about, you know, we have fun, but we talk serious stuff, but we just have fun. Yeah. And we're different from some of the other guys we watch as well, because I'm like Amy, I'm curious as hell. I'll go and have a look at stuff, you know. I mean, I was doing this with one of my coaching clients the other day. Somebody had opted into his sales funnel, and we were going through, actually this was on Active Campaign, so I use that a lot, the workflows and that. And I said, that guy's definitely, he's in there looking for stuff. So we checked him out, and we went to his website, and we actually found a couple of things in there. He said, oh, no, I ain't got time to do that. I said, no, let's go and have a look. And we actually found some interesting things from his website, because we took the time just to go and have a little look, you know. And I took an idea from there that no one was really doing. I thought, hey, that's cool. You know, I didn't really realize he was doing that. Let's go and get that. So you've got to be curious, haven't you? Go and find things out. I'm waffling now, so I'll shut up.
Well, I know we're just a little bit over the hour, guys. So I know everybody's probably got something else to look at. Stephen, did you have any last comments or questions?
No, this was really fantastic. I had really no sort of like expectation or context for what kind of feedback I would create, and this was way above and beyond actionable stuff I can do immediately. So, and a lot of fun. I really love waxing about this stuff. So thanks, guys. Awesome.
Well, thanks everyone for jumping on and giving an hour out of your day. And thanks again to Replace for sponsoring, but have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks for making time.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Bye.
Thanks.
See you guys. Thanks.
Best regards.
Guys.